Hey guys, I know this isn't typically my main content. I know it's shotgun, but I've been playing a lot of Astra on my main account lately, and I would say I'm pretty much at a immortal / radiant level with her already. I've basically come up with the best setups you could do on defense with her. So if you're in game right now, this video will be timestamped for you if you want to click to wherever you are on whatever map you're on. Or if you're not in a game, I'd consider staying to the end because this is probably one of the best defense setups for Astra that you'll ever need. And if a new map comes out, I'll do a guide for her with more best setups. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. For my setup, usually I like to put one here, one here, and for this, one being the smoke, to smoke them off here if they try to come in. And if they really try to come in, you can use the other one to suck them in. And they'll be trying to suck into the center of the star, and you can basically just shoot freely and get them killed that way. And if you want to counter jets, because I know jets love to dash in here, is to have a star there, a star there, and a star here. Because what you'll see most jets do is dash in either here or on top of the generator. And if you hear a jet dash in, you can stun this and pull this. And one thing is the pull will even pull people above them. So you can pull the jet off generator, or if he's just down here, you can pull him and make him vulnerable. So he'll either be stunned or vulnerable. And that's a good way to counter jets there. And if you want to have a setup on cat, one thing you can do is have one here, here, and here. This one obviously being for the smoke, to smoke them off, and then try to, if they flash in or something, you can suck them in. And if they're like just a little bit into the smoke, they'll be yanked out of the smoke and pulled into here, and you can get a kill off them. Then, if you really want to, wait for them to come in, and then stun and suck them here. So this side, if they're on here, they'll either be stunned or sucked. There's really another way they could go besides into sight or back to cat. Now, if you're trying to retake with your team, this is a pretty good setup here. You have one to smoke off if they're playing here, and you have a star here and a star here. Now you're probably wondering why I didn't suggest, because I know you can go under hell and place one. The thing is, if your team's already out here, they could be pulled or stunned if you have one down here. So unless they're back here, I wouldn't try it. Maybe you could change this one to here if your team's trying to also back up here and wait for your star. But you smoke here, stun, and suck them out. And while your team jumps out here, they'll be stunned. And the reason I put a suck here is because if they're hiding behind this box, they'll be sucked out and forced to peek you heaven. And that'll be a good way to retake the site. Or another thing, you can use your wall to wall off main if you really wanted to. If they're like all playing main for like lineups or Sovolts or Brimwolts, stuff like that. Anyway, let's move on to B. Okay, so for B, this is what I like to do. You put one here, you put one here, and you put one here. Now the reason for this, you have the smoke. If they try to push in, you suck them out of the smoke, pull them into the center, get some kills, and stun them if they're out a little bit too much. You stun them there. Or you have one here and here. So if they're pushing out, you stun here and suck them here. They'll be stunned if they try to go logs, and they'll be sucked in here, forced back, not able to go to lane, and make them vulnerable. If you're playing, let's say, sight, you can put one here and here, and you can stun them or suck them. Because the reason you stun them on this furthest one, the reason being with your suck, you pull them into you while they're stunned, and it'll be kind of hard to shoot you. Okay, so if you're trying to retake, good things to do, if you have your ultimate especially, is you put one here, here, you grab your ultimate, you split them off at the door in boathouse, and you stun this and pull this. If they try to hide here, they'll be stunned here. If they're back there, they'll be vulnerable. And this way, your team will be able to watch the wall while one of you defuses, and since they'll be kind of muffled, they won't be able to really tell, and they can't shoot past it, which that's probably one of my favorite retakes to do. And now let's say you're trying to just play, like you kind of want to be unpredictable, you kind of want to be everywhere. What I like to do usually is put a star here, 2 stars here, and a star here. This way you'll have an extra one if you need to like put an emergency one down, or you could take the mid one back if you don't want to do that. This way they won't know where you are, and you can help your team wherever you are. And if you'd really like to, you can put an extra star on A. So you could either smoke this off for them, smoke this off for them. And if they're coming out on one side, you can like either pull them or stun them, whichever you feel like. Or if you really want to, you can have one smoke, wait for that one to go down, then smoke again for them. And you can always take them back if you want to change them around. So yeah, let's move on to the next map. And for A site, what I like to do is put a star here, a star here, and a star here. The reason I like this so much is because you can smoke this off if you want to push up, or just wait to see if they're pushing out. And then if they're rushing you, you could hide back here, pull them, and stun them. And if they're already held, they'll be all stunned wherever they are down here. And this pull will either pull them back or pull them forward, and they'll be vulnerable if you want to peek out main. And now let's say if you're playing ramps here, if you want to put a star here, you could change this into a pull. So either for you or your teammate is up ramps, they could peek off it and they'll be vulnerable, or you could stun it if you'd like, if you prefer that. And let's say you want to play more passive in heaven, you could put a star here and a star here. That way if you know if they're going ramps, you can stun it and they'll be stunned if they try to push you. And if you're trying to help your teammate on site, you can suck them, and you'll have a good peek on heaven of all these guys that are vulnerable. Now, let's say you're retaking with your team. The stars I like to do for retakes is one here, and one here. This way, you can smoke off main if you have a guy on screens, and you can stun this if there's a guy hell. And even if they're hell and rafters, they'll be stunned either way. So they're either forced to push heaven or jump off. And if you have guys in screens pushing elbow, you can suck them out of the corner and they'll be vulnerable. They'll have nowhere to go except for right here, and you'll probably get the pick on them. Alright, for B site, what I like to do is put a star right here, a star right here, and a star right here. The reason for these, you got this smoke here to stop their push. And if they're starting to push out, you can suck them in and stun them. The suck being if they're just starting to run out, and the stun is pretty good if they have a jet that dashes out into the smoke right here. And if they try to dash in, they'll be stunned and you can get the jump on them. It's also pretty good if you have guys heaven. If you have your suck right here and they're starting to run out, they'll be sucked into the middle and forced to be kind of stationary, and you'll get the easy kill. Now for retaking, good thing to do is put a star here, a star here, and a star here. What this does for your team, if you have teammates up in heaven
Right there.
or CT, you have the smoke off for them, and you can stun this or suck it, or suck and stun backside. The reason those being the common spots for players like to play during post plant, and then you have this smoke for your team if people are playing in garage. All right, for mid, there's only a couple things you could really do. For this, you could put a smoke here, a star here, and what these do, this one smokes mid for your team, and you're able to push up if you want, or just peek out mid and get some mid control. And let's say you're playing in vents and your teammate needs help, like they're trying to rush up, you can stun this for them and mail before they enter, and that slows down their push or forces them to get out. And another thing, if you want to get really aggressive mid, is you put a star on the edge of this box right here, or if you really want to, put another star here. And this one way is right here, which not a lot of people know about right now probably. So if you want to push out mid here, they'll be forced to push out your smoke and you'll see their feet. And if you really wanted to, you could pop this one. It's not really great. I don't really do this, but
I need obscuring vision.
I wouldn't really try to do that one. I would mostly try to do this one, which is a better one way. Peeking out here. Now, if you're trying to play everywhere, what I like to do is I usually like to play mid. I'll put a star here, 2 stars here, and a star here. And for this one, I usually like to smoke both of these at the start of the game. And if they're not mid, or if they're not A, I'll peek over here, help them out, smoke them off, and if they're pushing in B, you can always stun them. Or you can always pull back your smokes wherever they are, since it's not too long of a cooldown. So let's move on to the next map. And for A, ones I like to do is put one here, one here, one here, and here. Now the reason for these, you have one for showers, smoke off. You also have a one-way, and if they try to push out, you can stun and suck them. Now the reason I like those so much is they'll either be forced back or forced in. And if you have a guy holding U-Haul, the guys right here will be vulnerable for them to kill off. And you also have smokes to your disposal since you have 2 charges for showers and short. Or if you're trying to fight showers, you can have one here and smoke off deep. Since you can do this early at the start of the game, you'll have pretty easy showers control. They'll either be forced to push you or stay back. And now for retake, something I like to do is a star here, star here, star here, and a star here. Now the reason I like these for retake is you can smoke off this and this, pull here. Reason to pull here is if there's a guy in this cubby right here, he'll be forced to get pulled out into your vision and you'll be able to kill him. And if there's a guy holding U-Haul here, he'll be stunned. Or if you'd like, you could have 2 U-Haul if you know they're playing inside. You can suck them, pull them, or vice versa. They'll be either stunned or pulled here if you know there's not a guy cubby. Or another thing you can do is put your wall like this and have your stars like this, pulling the guy that's there.
Knocking down.
Or sitting right there. This wall is pretty good for retaking if they plant default or triple box, either one. Because they won't be able to hear you or shoot past you, they're forced to push out. And if you have all of site control, there's nothing we can really do unless they have lineups or ults. And yeah, let's move on to B. And now with B, I like to have a star here, a star here, star here, and a star here. This is probably one of my favorite setups on this map. And the reason I like this so much is this star, if you pull or stun them, they'll be pulled or stunned in, even if they're in hookah still. If they're in any of these corners, I like to do a suck personally, since it'll make them vulnerable, and I could spray these walls and have that double damage effect and hopefully get a kill off that. And then obviously this star being for a smoke, you need to smoke both off. Or if they're jumping out, have a stun and suck there when they jump out. That's pretty good because they're forced to be in the stun or be in the suck. And for retaking with your team, you either smoke both of these off,
Concealment. Concealment.
or if you have your ultimate, you can use your ult like this. And have a star here, a star here, or a star here. The reason I like these stars is if they're in this corner hugging it, you can pull them out of it, and you can stun here if they're holding close anywhere here, or even like right if they're peeking right here. This will get them. And you could also pull out of this corner too if you want to use this one. Or something really cheeky you can do. If they're in tube, you could stun it. And if they're inside, or even on top right here, this will stun them. Now, if you want to play everywhere, what I like to do usually, I'll kind of float wherever I like to play. I'll put a star here, a star here, a star here, and here. And maybe sometimes even here. Now I like these because you have smokes for both sites. Both sites you have smokes at your disposal, so you can activate them whenever. And I always like having a one-way here for my team. Or if they're pushing up A short fast, you can suck them or stun them. And you also have these smokes to your disposal for your team. So yeah, let's move on to the next map. Now for A, some stars I like to do is put one here, put one here, one here, and one here. The reason I like these is you can smoke off heaven and main, so the only places that you have to worry about is nest and pipes. And if they're pushing out on your site, you can pull them here and stun them here. So you can peek off if they're stunned here or pulled here. And they're basically either forced back or forced onto site. And then one for retake, what you could do, if you have your ultimate, this is pretty good. But set your stars up first. You can put one here. And probably just one here. Probably don't even need the second one. But what you can do is put your wall like this and suck them out here if they're either on rafters or below, and they'll be vulnerable. And if they planted the bomb in sight, this covers all of the bomb plant. So you could stick the bomb here, and all you have to do is watch the wall or watch out for ultimates. It's probably the best retake wall you could ever do on this map. Have setups on. One thing you can do is have your smoke here. If you want to peek out, just push out right away. If you want to get into like a corner or something. Or if you're playing, let's say, yellow box, you could have your stars here, and here. And you can either suck them here or stun them if they try to push out on you. And they'll be either sucked or stunned by the time those are over. There's not really too much you can do on this site, but her retake is actually pretty strong, actually. And another thing you can do if they're trying to plant the bomb, what I like to do, let's have a star there, and a star there, is smoke both of these off and either suck them or pull them. If they're planting the bomb, they're still gonna be planting, so they're gonna be vulnerable or stunned if you try to peek out here. And you're safe from the people from yellow box. Best thing for a retake ult is having one right here. Then again, this covers all that is planted, and your team can just watch the wall while one of you defuse wherever the bomb is planted on site. And they can't really hear if you're defusing or not. And they're forced to push your wall or use util. And this lasts a pretty long time, so that's probably the best retake wall you could do. Or if you know one's in tube, you can put your star on top and stun wherever. If you're below, you'll be stunned, or if you're above, you'll be stunned. Alright, mid's also kind of a tricky one. The best smoke you can probably put is right there. And if they push out of the smoke, you can have another star here. So if you're smoked off here, you can stun this, so they're either forced to stay in the stun, go up tube, or push back. Or if you're holding kitchen, you could have your star here. And you can either suck or stun them. They'll be sucked in, and you'll be able to peek off and shoot them. And if they're also up in tube, they'll be sucked. And you can shoot them up here as well. Now, if you're trying to set up everywhere, some stars I like to do is one here, 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 and here. I always like to keep an extra star on me just in case I need to use it for emergency, if I need to pop one like quick. Now, at the start of the game, I usually smoke off mid, and I usually play mid. So I can just kind of have free range of mid, and if I really want to, I could push up. And if they're coming out on A, you can smoke and then stun for them. So yeah, let's move on to the last map. And for A site, I like to put a star there, a star here, a star here, and a star here. These ones are good for having your smokes here if you need to smoke off both. And then if you're trying to push in, you can suck them in. If they're in that smoke, they'll be sucked in, be able to peek off it. Or if they're already out, you can stun and suck here. And for retaking, there's a lot of options you can do here. You could have two here, one here, and one here. And the reason for these, you have both of them to smoke off both long and short. You can stun this for your team and suck them out. If they're on default, they'll be sucked out and have to be forced to peek heaven. And if they're playing graffiti in that corner, they'll be stunned. Or another thing you can do is have your wall here, wall off like that, put a star here, a star here, and stun this or suck this. The reason for this, you can stun the corner again, or you can stun hell or suck them. If your team's pushing out, if there's still a guy hiding here, it won't stun any of your teammates that are in heaven, because heaven is too high for them to be stunned. And that wall gets you a chance to stick the defuse while your team holds the wall, and they won't be able to shoot you. Alright, for B, there's a couple things you could do. What I like to usually do is put a star here and here. If your team likes to get aggressive mid at the start of the game, I like to smoke this and stun this. That way I'll be able to push out without being seen from mid. And at the start of the game, these guys will be stunned or sucked. I usually like to change it up and it gets your chance if your team is playing garage to peek out. Or you also have a smoke here if you're playing more passive, and a smoke here, and maybe even an extra one here. The reason for this, you can smoke off B for you, so you can kind of play passive here so they don't push in. And if you're also playing garage, you also have a smoke here, and if they're trying to come in, you can either suck them or stun them. That way you can kind of peek off and see them suck or stunned into you. And let's say you're retaking B now. You can put a star here, a star here, and a star here. For this, you can smoke off if they're playing out mid. You can suck this and stun this. This being the common spots that people like to play during post plant. They'll be either stunned or stuck backside on gong. Or if they're hiding, let's say in this corner, they'll also be sucked or stunned. Or if you have sight control, you can put your wall down. That way you can get the defuse off. And you can do the same stars if you want to clear a gong and the corner still. Alright, so for setting up on C, one thing you can do is have a star here, a star here, and a star here. These being good because you can smoke off long if you want to peek, if you want to be able to slow down the push. And if they're starting to push in, you can concuss them or suck them, whatever you prefer. And if they're also coming out, if you know they're coming out garage, you also have a stun or suck to your disposal there, slowing down their push. Or you could have a setup here that lines up like this. You can suck them and stun them if they're already rushing out. They're kind of forced to go out this way. And this way, you could always change up having it like this. If they always like going to default, you can suck them or stun them here. And now, let's say if you're retaking, there's a couple things you can do. You can have a star here, a star here, a star here, or a star here. What these can do is you can smoke off long, or if your team is pushing out garage right here, you can either suck them or stun them. I personally like to suck them because they like to play in the corner and they'll be sucked into the center. Or I like to do stun logs, and you could also suck them back sight because you can suck them out of these two corners. And obviously a good wall is one like this. That way, once you use all your util to clear them out of the corners, you have this wall here to defend you from being sprayed from long, which is actually pretty useful. What I like to do is put a star here, a star here and here, and a star here. And then maybe occasionally a star here. I usually like to play mid on this map with Astra. And then I'll have smokes for my team on A if they need smokes. And I'll always smoke mid at the start, and then sometimes stun this if I have a star there. And then I also have a smoke for them seed long if they need it. That's it for this best setups with Astra on every map. Hope this guy helped you out if you're trying to play Astra. Let me know in the comments if you want a guide for attack executes with Astra. I'll definitely make one in the near future if you guys want one. Also, consider subscribing to the channel since there will be a lot more Astra content coming on my channel. Because this character is a lot of fun to play and I can't wait to make some content for you guys. So yeah, hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.